If you're joining us on the replay, happy replay day to you as well. It's so wonderful to have you join me. We're live and excited to welcome you to today's live level up conversation.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market updates. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, Forbes contributor, CNBC council member, and award-winning financial pro, here to keep you on top of relevant, trending business news. But most importantly, you're always part of today's discussion. It's great to have you joining me here. We'll be sharing your feedback throughout the show, so definitely don't be shy. Tell me where you're joining us from, what city, how you're feeling, how you're doing. I would love to hear. So thank you so much for being here. And I want to welcome you back, of course, to the week. Yesterday was pretty troublesome day in the stock market, to say it lightly. We continue to see a lot of volatility, and I think it's pretty safe to say you should expect this in the coming weeks as well. Hope that you had a nice weekend. But let's start with how the Dow closed. The Dow closed down 150 points today. The Nasdaq, though, did scoop up a little bit of a positive, up 19 points. We'll take it. We certainly will, especially given how badly it did yesterday. The S&P 500 continued to fall today, down over 13 points at 13.75. Certainly, we saw a lot of teeter-tottering in the stock market today, down quite a bit and then improving a little bit. But these fluctuations are things that we should continue to expect. Certainly on Wall Street, traders continue to be prepared as we're looking to see what the Fed is going to be announcing this week. For those of you who haven't seen already, actually, I'm going to be joining a panel right after the market close tomorrow for CNBC. It's going to be CNBC event. So definitely want to, I'll remind you again before we close off here, but definitely want to see if you're around, definitely come and check it out. There's going to be a lot of insight of what's happening and sort of kind of summary in our take on the Fed's messaging. Now, the Fed is going to kick off, of course, its two-day meeting, started actually today. And we're actually expecting that the central bank is going to be increasing interest rates again. But, we talked about last month, hoping for sort of a half percentage point here for the consecutive month already. But now there's been a lot more talk. I've been seeing a lot of messaging across the different financial publications. So we're actually expecting here closer to 0.75% increase on interest rates. Now, what does this mean, right? So for the central bank to increase interest rates, it means that they're really trying to mitigate this sky-high inflation that we think is supposed to get better. We're thinking it's supposed to get better. Rates go higher. We thought it would be a little better by now, and it certainly hasn't got much better. In fact, just this month, we had more inflationary numbers come out. And here in the United States, it just seems to be getting even higher. Now, you've probably noticed when you've been shopping at the grocery stores or buying things in general, or even buying those necessary essentials, the cost of goods keep getting higher, the cost of utilities. It just seems like we're not in for a break. And unfortunately, that's what the Fed is looking at as well. And so they're really hoping to curb inflation. And when you curb inflation, one of the ways that they do that is by increasing interest rates. Now, for you and I, what does that really mean, right? Well, certainly if you have a bunch of cash sitting in your checking account and savings account and it's interest bearing, this could be a positive. You're actually probably increasing your interest on the cash that you have at the bank. However, if you are looking to purchase a new home, right, or refinancing your home, is certainly not good news, because the 30-year mortgage, as of today, was announced, just rose up to over 6%. It's now over 6.28%. That is on the 30-year fix. Now, just to give you an idea how quickly that has moved up, just last week, my friends, it was at 5.5% on the 30-year fix. Now, if you're like me and you already have your fixed mortgage, you're probably sort of breathing a sigh of relief, because if you refinance in the last couple of years, you were able to lock in a historically low rate, right? But now we're dealing with inflation that's at a 41-year high, and therefore the Fed needs to do what they need to do to get inflation down at a more reasonable place. And unfortunately, that means increasing interest rates. Now, increasing interest rates, my friends, has certainly had a negative impact not only on mortgages, but on the housing market. No surprise here, right? So home sales here in the United States has now fallen for 6 straight months. This is according to news from the National Association of Realtors. So if you're looking to purchase a home, be patient. Be patient. I think in time this will start to even out. I think in time it might be quite a bit of time, but in time, inflationary levels should quiet down a little bit. So we need some good news. We need some good news here. We need to see more geopolitical stability. Hopefully, the war in Ukraine starts to, you know, close sooner rather than later. Hopefully, Russia pulls out there. And of course, we're seeing a lot of chain issues that continue to come from different parts of the world, and namely China. Right, they're still really trying to mitigate the pandemic as much as they can, and so that's impacting supply chain issues. So we continue to see a lot of these issues, and so that's what's putting a lot of pressure on the real estate market. Now, some of you may argue, well, you know what, the real estate market did really, really well during the pandemic, so maybe it's time for cooling off. Well, that's what we're sort of seeing right now. Now, the S&P 500 slipped a little less than 0.5%, so 0.4%, further moving into bear market territory. Now, for those of you who are watching this and wondering, and we're starting getting a lot of calls of what's going to happen next, right? Should I be more concerned? Is the market going to get even worse? Well, here's what we do know for sure. And I shared this actually on Twitter yesterday. If you don't follow me on Twitter, definitely follow me at Winnie Sun. I do share information regularly. And sort of like, you know, as soon as I think of something or I read something that I think you should know about. So that's where you want to follow me. But yesterday, we saw quite a lot of news about where the market's trending towards, right? So yesterday I said, you know, definitely we're going to see more volatility and probably more down days going forward. And certainly we saw that yesterday. The other thing that we still see a traumatic pressure in terms of inflation. And will inflation get better sooner rather than later? I don't think so. I think it's going to take a while to flush out. I think we're probably looking at somewhere in 2023, to be honest with you, to get a little bit closer to healthy levels. What are healthy levels of inflation? Typically 3 to 4%. You know, we've even seen sometimes like 2 to 3%, but you know, certainly needs to be in a 3 to 4% to be at healthier levels. And that we probably won't see anytime soon. So be prepared. And that's not to say there aren't going to be great opportunities. In fact, doing a little research, we also saw that if you had, with every bear market, since World War II, if you actually had invested in the stock market close to the last or the bear market portion of the stock market. So let's say the S&P 500 had closed below 20%, right? If you had invested near the end of the bear market, in just about most of the cases, you would be up over 20% after 12 months. And that's nearly double the stock market's usual long-term average. So that's a big deal. So you might be asking, so what is a bear market in the stock market? And I want to share this with you. Now, a bear market, when we talk about this financial term, what it means is that when, you know, the equity markets, which is the stock markets, maybe the S&P 500, maybe the NASDAQ, the Dow, even an individual stock, if it drops by more than 20%, okay, 20% or more, I should say, from a most recent high, that's what we call a bear market. That's what we call a bear market in the stock market. Okay, so that being said, you know, we're seeing certain those levels currently today. So if you're looking at your 401k or you're looking at your personal investments and you see that correction on your statement, do know that that's what we're looking at as well. And the other question that I've gotten a lot recently is, well, is a bear market a recession? And I want to talk about this because actually the answer is not necessarily, because a bear market doesn't always indicate an economic recession. In fact, there have been 26 bear markets since 1929, and of those that were a recession, only 15. So bear markets will often go at the same pace as a slowing economy, but a declining market doesn't always mean a recession is going to be coming. So keep that in mind, all right? So I want to share that with you to put some of this in perspective. Historically, there's been many occasions and many times that if you invest during a very difficult market, during a bear market, that if you're able to hold long term, that you will be rewarded. There will be a new high reach. So for those of you who are in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, and you still have plenty of time, even older, right? If you have plenty of time before you need to utilize these funds and invest, there's definitely opportunities to be had, but make sure to do so with an expert in mind. Have someone help you do that professionally. Okay. Now, the other news I wanted to share with you today is on Instagram. Now, Instagram has just released some information out. As you know, Instagram is part of Facebook, part of Meta, which is their new company name is called Meta. So Instagram is coming up with this new sort of system. And I want to share this with you because I'm interested to see how you feel about it. So I want to say, first off, it is great to see Sadiq. Thank you for joining us on LinkedIn Live. I see Michael on LinkedIn Live as well. I see many of you today. Thank you so much, CrossX Fighter. Joshua on YouTube Live, always a treat to see you, Joshua. Thank you so much for being here. And so many of you joining me live today. Thank you. So I want to share this about Instagram. I thought it was really interesting. So Instagram has been under a lot of pressure about the content that they share, right? And the content that their younger users are seeing. So now what they're going to do is, I call it sort of Instagram Nanny. That's not the official term. I just made it up because I think about it that way, right? So Instagram is going to now start to have systems in place that are going to encourage teens to go away from content that they're looking at just too often, to try and give them sort of a different perspective or other topics that might be of interest. So they're saying that, certainly there's content on social media platforms that could be deemed harmful. And so the platform is going to start rolling this out in the United States and the UK, Ireland, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So what it's going to do is, if they find that a teen is spending way too much time on Instagram's Explore page looking at specific themes and whatnot that might not be deemed positive, then the platform is going to display a notification that's going to help sort of give them a little nudge or suggestion to look at other types of content and different posts instead. And it's interesting, they did this research, right? Instagram did this research that showed an overwhelming 58%, in fact, respondents said that they believe that these sort of Instagram nanny encourages, I'm calling it nanny encourages, are a good thing. And they do think that teens might benefit from looking at other types of content instead of negative or harmful content. So I'm curious to see what you think about that. I will say that I actually this year just became a mom of a teen, meaning my son just turned 13. So now he's technically a teenager. And I think I normally I would say, I think it's good that my son is curious and he's interested in learning what he wants to do. But I think that, depending on how active the parent is in the household, how active you are in terms of communicating with your child and monitoring what they see, perhaps that's a sign of times. Maybe technology like this is necessary so we don't have more school shootings and things like. I don't know. I'm asking the question. I'm curious to see what you all think. I haven't come to a conclusion yet, one way or the other, whether I agree with this move or I disagree with this move coming from Meta. I would love to see your thoughts on it and just get your feeling. Like, do you think it's good that Meta, Instagram is going to monitor some of what teens are viewing and searching for and try to encourage them to look at other topics and interests? I'm curious. I would think that as a teenager, I'm going to guess that teenagers, this might drive teenagers crazy, and they might actually start to use other platforms that don't do this. And that's looking at like platforms like TikTok and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what you say. So let me know how you feel about that. And definitely, Sadiq, let me know. I always like Sadiq always has an interesting perspective on that too. So it'd be good to see. And Joshua, let me know what you think. So, tomorrow, I also want to tell you that tomorrow, if you're around, tomorrow I'm actually starting the morning very, very early with Good Day Los Angeles tomorrow. Good Day LA. Okay. I'll be on probably around 8 a.m. Pacific, talking about all sorts of things regarding retirement planning and whatnot, talking about interest rates, inflation, talking about the current economic state of things in the United States. So definitely tune in if you're around. If it's at Fox 11 LA, I think you can find them online too. If you're not local, you can see that. Also, later in the afternoon, then I'm going to be speaking at the CNBC Summit. And so this is a really special CNBC event. I usually participated in it every year. So hopefully you'll get a chance to catch me as well. That's going to be really fun because we're actually going to be coming after the market close. I'm going to talk about the Fed messaging, any announcements that they made. And so if you're around, would love to see you there as well. I hope to catch you there. Should be a lot of fun. But aside from that, I'm just so appreciate you being here, watching, supporting our program. Do know that this week, In the Loop is going to be coming to you on Friday instead of our typical Wednesday. Greg has a special event that he needs to get to tomorrow. So we're going to be pushing that to Friday. If you're here in the West Coast, it'll be in the morning. If you're in the East Coast, and it'll be somewhere right in your afternoon. But I hope to see you there as well. But I will be coming to you again probably tomorrow and Thursday for Level Up as well. Level Up on Thursday has a very special interview. I know it's a lot of dates, right? A lot of information. Basically, the answer is just stay close. Keep on top of what we're doing. It's always so great for me to share information with you. I hope that I bring you value. And most importantly, I thank you for your time and your commitment to being here for me. As a reminder, you can find full episodes of Level Up on NASDAQ, KBCW, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And we're excited to share, of course, that Yes Factor brand new podcast is now available everywhere that you tune into podcasts. So please tune in. And with that, be well. I can't wait to see you again next week. Take care.